What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, our Monday afternoon show brought to you by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. You can visit gomuskox.com today to check out their new spring flannel collection and offerings. Some great stuff, right? If you're looking to be a little cooler, more comfortable in the spring, you want something you wear outside and indoors as it gets a little bit warmer. You don't want to have a jacket on. Muskox is there for you. You look good, too. Jason and I are both wearing Muskox flannels today. You're watching the show on YouTube, and we look as good as we possibly can. And the Muskox flannel is doing an awful lot of work. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Big 10 plus his ass.
What's up, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. You too.
Haven't seen you in a while.
It's been a bit.
By the way, the live show was amazing, wasn't it?
It was outstanding.
It's like nice coming back in here. Like, no offense to the people that showed up, but watching, everybody staring at you while you're on air. It's kind of, we talked about it, but it's just kind of different. Now I feel like whatever happens now.
So much less pressure.
If we can get through that.
Yes.
Everybody's like, Graham kind of looked kind of scared at the beginning of it. I'm like, well, yeah, when you look out there and you see a lot of, it was really surprising how many people came out, and it was exciting, and got to meet Judith and her friend Sean. Judith, who she's up there in age, I would say. She doesn't, I don't know, she didn't really tell me her age.
Whoa.
No, but she said
42 maybe?
No, I turned around. Like, Monica's like, I'm sorry to interrupt, you have to meet this person.
Judith
I turned
will
around,
fix that in post. Sorry.
and Judith, and I'm like, oh no, she's going to yell at me for yelling at old people driving. And she made a joke, and it was all good. And then she had her trophy from winning the March Madness thing last year. So it was awesome. It was a great night, great day.
Yep. No, it was awesome. It was some of the people who came in from, Marquette, Matawan, Grand Rapids.
See, I don't know where that is. Matawan. Is that far?
It's outside Kalamazoo.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. It's where One Ball's from. Clint One Ball.
So,
Yeah. It's anyway, fantastic show. We appreciate it. It's you can listen to it on the app and or anywhere you get your podcast, and if you haven't heard it yet. And we did a lot of stuff, our worst takes, and some Twitter questions outside of things that were relevant to the MSU Michigan game.
Shit on Graham's takes, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a little more evergreen than some of our shows, so it's still worth a listen.
By the way, we did have some swag that my wife Treese made, and there was some inquiries of how to get the stuff. We have our website, Couch and the Rube thing we did for Christmas. That thing, Graham's going to tweet it out on the Couch and the Rube account. We're basically making these at cost, so basically for shipping and the materials, and we want to get you, if you guys want a coffee mug or anything else on there. So
yeah, no, we'll get that tweeted out. It's real cool of Therese to do this, and she
loves doing it.
She's amazing, and you've got your little sweatshop in Ovid, and Therese there with her little elves. I don't know if it's just all her. She's got people, kids, 6-year-olds. If you need me to bring a young soccer team over, I'm the guy who can round up a bunch of 6-year-olds and get them to the house.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's there. I was asked before we dig into these hot takes. I was asked about not wearing a Muskox flannel on Saturday's show, and I do want to point out I live in my Muskox flannels to the point that it's constant.
It hides your smell well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It hides my scent.
Yeah.
But I did manage to spill coffee not long before I was supposed to got to the door, and it was.
But you have multiple Muskox flannels.
I do.
So you could have. Did you pour coffee on all of them?
No, I just poured on one, but it was the one that was best with the outfit. And I was at that point I was like, I'm going to put a vest on. I'm going to a restaurant. I'm going straight to a game after a restaurant. I want something that can be a layer like a bib, and so I went with the vest look. But it was that was the reason for it. And but I love that Muskox is that much part of the vernacular that people are like, why is he not in a Muskox? So that explains that. And the stain came out. So coffee is
Thank God.
Not one of the bad stains that exist in this world. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's. Do you want to dig into our hot takes?
Yeah, man. You want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
I'll go first. For Michigan State basketball to get somewhere, and to do something that excites people in this postseason. Somebody on their team, not in their core four, is going to have to be good, like memorably good. Not like the leading scorer, but something different than they've been to this point. When we talk about them, we remember them from this tournament run, this late season run, more than Malik Hall having a Travis Trice moment, more than Tyson Walker being himself, more than consistency from Jaden Akins or from A.J. Hoggard. It's going to have to be Trey Holloman, Coen Carr, Jaxon Kohler, Xavier Booker, even Carson Cooper to an extent, although he's playing an increasingly large role and he's a starter essentially at this point, I think, even though he's not starting. And Izzo at his press conference Monday today was very I think Sissoko is going to continue to start, but his minutes may not increase or may continue to decrease. And
why, though? If he's only going to play 8 minutes or whatever,
why
start him?
But for this reason, I think you're trying to keep a guy engaged who's having a rough go, and your starts haven't been bad lately. So you start him, you see how it goes, and you know those minutes are baked in rather than bringing him in later. And that I thought they might do that at the beginning of the season when I didn't think he'd play as many minutes as he is. I don't think starting him matters all that much. I think it ultimately matters who's in crunch time, who's playing the bulk of the minutes.
But I disagree, though. How many slow starts does this team get off to? And to play a guy, why? Because you feel bad about playing him 8 minutes, so you want to start him and go, all right, well, he's asked for 8 minutes, and then we're going to pull him.
No, he plays less than 3.
You get off the slow starts like Michigan State does a lot.
They haven't lately, and he plays less than 3 and Cooper's in. So
I know, but why? Okay.
Would you rather bring him in when you're rolling and all of a sudden everybody's groaning then? You know what I mean? Like everybody's going to groan when Matty Sissoko comes in the game. That's just the way it is, and he's going to play some. Yeah. And so to me, you start him, and that 6 minutes of what I think should be about 12 are right there. Now he may play more if he's playing better, but I think Izzo is getting more and more blunt about the Sissoko issues and knows that. I mean, he talked today about how well Cooper had played. But I think those other guys, not so much Cooper, but I thought Trey Holloman was fantastic, and he has been for a couple games. Yeah. Coen Carr was the best he's been in a while. He looked comfortable and confident. He looked good defensively. Probably should have played in the second half. I understood Izzo's reasoning, feeling like he needed to have Jaden Akins out there on McDaniel, and he didn't like the Coen Carr matchup so much. I think Izzo, even if he had to do it again, would have played. Carr was impactful in the first half. He was good defensively, and he was great on the break. And the thing that I think is most important is he's attacking the hoop on offense in the half court. He's not just being stagnant like he was at Minnesota and where he was starting to become a real liability. Kohler was good on the glass. I thought played pretty well, even though he didn't
make
score.
A layup.
Yep.
Layups, man.
Izzo said he's playing so fast when he's out there right now because he's just
too fast for layups.
Yeah. You know, his mind he wants to do well. He needs to slow it down. They're trying to get him to slow down. And then Xavier Booker, who I thought played well with Kohler in those 3 minutes they were out there together. Again, doesn't have to be. We're not looking for headliners here. What I'm saying is somebody is going to be decent in a role. If this team does not have enough with its core four to get where it wants to go or get to a place that I think really excites people, unless all of them are really rolling and the matchups are perfect. But what I think is positive for MSU is that all of those guys I mentioned, Coen Carr and Kohler and Booker, and Holloman, there's a possibility for them to raise their games because of how they're playing recently. They're all playing more or playing better than they were at certain points in the season. Like, they're not late in the year where one guy's just checked out or one guy has lost his confidence. And so there's a possibility of it. And it's got to happen for this team to get somewhere. And then Izzo and his staff have to react to it and have to allow those guys to play the minutes that's warranted. I think Booker needs to start seeing a second-half stint. He's playing that 3-minute stint. He ought to get 2 of those a game. And I think Carr ought to be a no-brainer in the second half and ought to be playing minimum 12, 15 minutes a game. If he continues to do the things he did the other day where he made a real difference. Holloman's going to play tons of minutes. He's, and I think Holloman is underrated right now, and some of the the opportunities he's created for a lot of teammates. And you look back at some of the best passes of the game, the best transition moments, the best feet. A lot of it is Trey Holloman. He is playing really, really well.
Well, there goes my first take.
All right, well, let's dig into yours.
Just let me ask you real quick, though, about Holloman. I know A.J. Hoggard got into foul trouble on Saturday. Was that the reason why Trey Holloman got 22 minutes? Do you think that he's going to stay around the 20-minute playing time mark? Because I'm with you. I'm a big Trey Holloman guy. I think defensively he's unbelievable, and he's great coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think
try to facilitate.
I think a lot of it had to do with foul trouble to both Akins and Hoggard, and that was why you saw more minutes for Carr than usual in the first half, which worked out well. And you saw more for Holloman. And I don't blame them for not trusting Coen Carr entirely yet because he's had enough lapses. But you have to react to what you're – like one of the problems that coaches have, one of the benefits and problems is that they see practice. So that's a benefit, and a guy can play himself into something or you can know a guy does something or doesn't do something well. The downside of that is sometimes guys are gamers. Sometimes you've seen too much in practice. And sometimes you have to react to what you're seeing on the floor on a given day, and coaches can be late to do so.
It's good to see you turning the corner on Coen Carr.
I'm not anti-Coen. When was I anti-Coen Carr? I've never been anti-Coen Carr.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
So, Gus Johnson, let me preface this take with I really don't care. The Michigan State thing, it's not me. I'm not a diehard Michigan State person. I didn't go there, so I don't like getting into all the Michigan things. But Gus Johnson's performance on Saturday was something to behold. And I don't know why Fox would allow this guy to come on the air and not only just gush about Sharon Moore, they gave him a gift bag before the game. And so he's Sharon Moore, he's sitting there with Sharon Moore and not even paying attention. It was like a fucking Michigan infomercial. And we know the guy is in love with Michigan. Why is he doing Michigan games? We can't have Herb Street say a fucking thing about either Clemson or the game he's doing because of whatever, and you can't gamble on because you don't want to gamble on Michigan State. This guy is openly fucking on air blowing Michigan. Sharon Moore sitting there and turning him toward a head coach for a Big Ten team and talking to him while a fucking game is going on. Listen, Gus Johnson is good at what he does, but play-by-play, but the guy has to get away from Michigan. He can't do games involving Michigan. It's crazy. Hire him for the fucking network or whatever just to call Michigan games if he wants to do it so bad. It was embarrassing.
I've heard a lot about it, and we have some hot takes that we will get into later in the show from listeners on Gus.
He's been this way for a while, but this game was really, really bad. Even if it were Michigan State, I would be like, what are we doing? If Will Tiemann was just Jonathan Smith for like 20 minutes or something, well, like, what are we doing?
Well, the other thing is, you got to be a pro if you've been like Robbie Hummel does a lot of Purdue games, and that's just on the schedule. Purdue's been good. They put him there. He doesn't decide the schedule.
He doesn't get a Purdue gift bag like, Purdue,
He's really good. He's really good when he does Purdue games. And some guys.
So's Gus Johnson. He's a good play-by-play guy. He gets the emotions flowing in games. Don't get me wrong, but man,
when sometimes he and Hummel will overcorrect, and people and good broadcasters do this when they're doing their home team, right? Their alma mater. They're almost too negative sometimes because they're trying to make themselves not be a homer. I've heard a lot of people complain. Fox ought to be aware of it. You got to be careful with that stuff. You got to understand it's a rivalry too, so it's not even a regular Michigan game. It is one where tensions are high and people are not happy and about that sort of thing, and it ruins the experience for a lot of people. And you've got to make sure you're balanced. I don't mind the gift bag, whatever. I don't love it, but if you do a broadcast that feels 50-50. Then people can deal with the gift bag shit. They can deal with everything. It's how you present yourself. And
but the guy was crying at the Bo statue a couple of years ago. I mean, come on. Gift bag, it doesn't matter. It's just shocking that you see that, and he's going on and on. It just seemed like a fucking infomercial.
It's not good.
No.
It's not good. My second hot take. I am rooting for Purdue. I am now rooting for Purdue the rest of the season.
They ruined my parlay this weekend.
And not just, they screwed a lot of people.
Related.
Yep. But I am rooting for Purdue because as soon as Purdue loses a road game at Ohio State, a team that just fired their coach, and if anybody follows soccer, you know about the new manager bump. Well, there is a temporary emotional swing that comes when a coach is fired. It's a galvanizing point. It clearly was for Ohio State. It's a road conference game against a team with some decent talent that's underachieved, and Purdue lost. Everybody does it. It just happens. And just because it happened to be now doesn't mean it's any different than anybody else's road conference defeat. The amount of shitting on Purdue, there is no doubt that in the postseason, Purdue is going to have to prove it. That's where our doubts about them exist, and justifiably so, because they've underachieved in the postseason. They've not gotten to a Final Four. Obviously, last year was a disaster, losing in the first round. But the anti-Purdue-ness of this world, and maybe this is just the pro-Big Ten in me and getting annoyed at all the Big East bullshit that was coming out about UConn, who's fantastic, who may be better than Purdue, may not be. I'm hoping we get to see that game at some point. But I am now rooting for Purdue to get to a Final Four. I am rooting for Purdue not to underachieve. I'm rooting for Purdue to shut people up because I'm just annoyed by it. And I also think for the Big Ten's sake, the better Purdue does, the better it looks, because they're really carrying the flag as the best chance to go far, to win a title. And when they dominate the Big Ten and then underachieve in the postseason, it really reflects poorly on the Big Ten. So I find myself, my heart strings tugging or whatever, I am rooting for Purdue. That is my second hot take.
Purdue. NBA All-Star Weekend, Graham. I don't know if you watched any of it. It's a weekend I used to celebrate years ago, but I can't anymore. And Adam Silver, I guess the game last night was like what they scored 500 points collectively in the All-Star game that probably no one watched. But they're trying to figure out how to make the players more interested in the game and some of these contests. Well, I'm looking up what the winners got over the weekend for the Slam Dunk, 3-point, and Skills Challenge. The Skills Challenge paid $55,000. The 3-point contest paid $60,000. And the Slam Dunk, $105,000. Now, to Mac McClung, I get it. That's a decent chunk of money. $60,000 to Dame Lillard? What the fuck does he care about $60,000? He shit $60,000. Like, what are we doing here? How are these you have a billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar company, and that's what you're paying for? No wonder no one gives a shit. These guys, like Dame Lillard said, he was like, well, I just wanted to win a 3-point contest. So what? That's after you win one, then what? Why would this guy want to, enter this contest again? It just blows my mind that these are the prizes.
The money used to make a difference for players when their contracts were a lot less. And not only that, it used to be something they took pride in. And the problem is the longer you get away from that, it used to be that at least the fourth quarter was a really competitive game.
Sure.
And you saw Adam Silver. I mean, he played the disappointed uncle really well in the post game.
Why is he shocked, though?
But the way he
Silver,
said,
come on.
He said basically, congrats, you scored the most points. That was like, wow.
Right.
And I do think if this is going to be what the All-Star game is, and the NBA in the regular season anyway is a better talking point, better drama than it often is basketball. But a lot of people are just tuning into the NBA now, right? They are tuning into the NBA post Super Bowl, post the NFL playoffs. And if this is what you're going to present to them, you might as well have the All-Star break while the playoffs are going on.
Sure.
Hide the hell out of it. You don't want to bring anybody.
Just get rid of it then.
Or just have the core NBA fans being able to see this stuff. Don't have because this only plays into the idea that the NBA is this sort of nobody cares about the regular season, nobody tries hard. It just adds into that, even though this is an all-star game. I hate all-star games. I hate most of them.
But
the
NBA one had, out of all the sports, though,
used to be good.
Yeah.
Used to be good. You go back to like the Kembe Mutombo's fourth quarter when the East beat the West. You look at some of the Kobe Bryant ones. There used to be something guys took pride in, and it doesn't exist.
But what would it take? $1 million per player? Like if you held the opposing team to under 120 points, you guys get $1 million. I mean, I don't even know where you go with it.
Well, the bigger thing I would do is guys want a break, and that's what Anthony Edwards said. He goes, we view this as a break. One of the things I would do is when you're remaking the schedule, I would take the next week off anyway, or because what I mean is
these guys' lives are a break. What do you mean? He needs a break.
I'm just saying if
guys play 40 games a year.
But if guys wouldn't rather be there because everybody else gets a break, give them the break.
Great idea, Graham. Let's say take another week off.
Yeah, or don't
less games,
or don't come if you're not going to play hard. Like
no one would show up then.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is.
$60,000 for the 3-point contest in 2024.
Get rid of it. Just get rid of the whole weekend and. Or just do what they do in the NFL. Just announce teams where you make an all-star team, but there's no actual game there because there's just very little to it. My third hot take: Michigan State hockey wins the Big Ten title this weekend. What happened with Wisconsin last weekend? So Michigan State hockey was up 5 points on Wisconsin going into last weekend. MSU hockey was off. Wisconsin was playing against Ohio State, and Ohio State is not having a great year. Wisconsin got 1 point out of the 2 games, out of a possible 6. They got 1 point out of. So now Wisconsin and Michigan State have played the same number of games, and Wisconsin only made up 1 point of the 5-point lead that Michigan State had. So Michigan State is up 4 points with 2 weekends left, 4 games. And the final weekend, after this weekend, they play each other in Madison. I don't think MSU will need to go there to win the title. Doesn't mean they don't need to do well that weekend or show up and win a game to get a top 4 spot in the pairwise, which could matter in terms of where they get sent and all that stuff. My guess is they get sent to suburban St. Louis for that NCAA tournament spot. And there's still the postseason with the Big Ten, which matters a ton as well and could affect seeding. There's a lot of stuff still down the pike. But I think Michigan State, if they can find a way to sweep Ohio State, the way Wisconsin's playing right now, I think Wisconsin's going to drop one against Penn State. And if that happens and Michigan State sweeps Ohio State, the title is done, and it's done this weekend. And that would be a really interesting senior night for this group on Saturday night at Mud Ice Arena. It would be fun for people to be able to celebrate and to be able to track. I think it's going to happen. That's my prediction, my hot take. What's your third hot take?
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers Gambling Update.
Found it.
With Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
I'm getting excited for the Detroit Tigers season, Graham. But I don't know if it's like Detroit Lions that just like seeping over. Like I really want another team to win and do some things because I'm looking at some of the future bets. What did you get to see? What was the season total for you? Over under
79.5.
Why am I liking that a lot now?
Because every year we want to talk ourselves into the Tigers,
right?
Because this time of year,
but I just don't know if it's my Lions thing just seeping over the Tigers, and I'm not going to make a smart bet. I think that they should win. And what about winning the Central? I think it's like plus 350 for the Tigers. I mean, it's somewhat value,
not great value. They play in a bad division, which helps,
right?
So they're over 79. That helps. They don't. And the other thing is, I think last year when everybody was sort of excited about them coming off the year before, it was just sort of a year ahead. Scott Harris was using it as a year of evaluation. We were sort of a year ahead of things. And I think this year is the year we thought last year was going to be. And I don't know that they'll win the division. I just think they'll be competitive throughout. I think they will play meaningful baseball in September. That's my hope. Now, there could be injuries that ruin this. You could have a pitching staff that gets ravaged, whatever. Stuff can happen. But if they have a relatively healthy season, and that means Riley Green on down and the pitching staff and all that, I look at the roster and I look at the rest of the Central and I'm like, that's what I mean. They ought to play competitive games. They
could have stole the Central last year, right? If everybody stays healthy, I don't know.
That's no.
Let's go Tigers. Let's hurry up this 9 months until football or whatever. Let's get this going.
All right, before we dig into your hot takes, if you are going to an April Tigers game and you're excited, talk about a reason for a muskox flannel, right? There is no better. I mean, shoot, April in the D, as they call it, right? Is that what it is? And April in the D. You in Comerica Park, muskox flannel, hot dog, watching the Tigers with hope and all that. Muskox just released their new spring flannel collection. You can go to gomuskox.com/spring to cut right to that. And again, anytime when you go in and you buy your first muskox flannel, put in the promo code HOFF, HOFF. That's a promo code for Couch of the Rube listeners to get you $15 off that flannel. Those spring flannels a little bit lighter. Good for the transitional weather, same buttery, soft fabric. You'll look as good as we do. Well, you'll look better than us, but the difference from how you usually look to how you look today will be made similar to us with a muskox flannel. Again, go muskox.com/spring.
April in the D. April.
All those important Pistons games, too. It'll be great. It'll be great. All right, let's...
Good luck, Joes. Singing that one. All right.
Let's dig into our listener hot takes.
All right, Eric Schultz up first. We've officially reached the moment where Tom understands he can't play Mady Sissoko meaningful minutes and have a successful team. Wish he realized it 60 games ago like the rest of us did. But this development brings the first true glimmer of hope this season.
I do think... You're right on this a little bit, Eric, and he talked about it after the game where he just said the best players play, and coaches are sometimes the last to realize it or the last to give up on a guy, and again, it goes back to they see practice, and sometimes there are things in practice that give them help them favor one guy over another. And there are elements to Sissoko in terms of how he looks, his size, his athleticism, that I think as a coach you want him to be better than he is. And it's tough because at this point it sort of is what it is. But the most important thing to the Mady Sissoko, his role decreasing story, is that somebody else is better than him significantly. And there have been times where they haven't had other bigs who were. And the way Carson Cooper has played of late, I think, gives you real promise that there is separation there. And when you get 7 rebounds in limited minutes out of Jaxon Kohler, that's not insignificant. If Kohler's going to defend and rebound at a decent level, you can let him find it offensively. I still think once he does, he's a helpful player in that sense too. He's got to be good on, especially rebounding the basketball. I think Izzo knows it, but 60 games ago is not entirely.
Tom's stubborn, man. Adam next. I don't want to pile on Sissoko, but what the hell is going on? They are at their best when he gets 2 early fouls and gets out auto-sat. Is this just stubbornness at this point from the coaching staff?
If you're an opponent, you want – first of all, it's the best analogy with Sissoko. Like when he picks up 2 fouls and has to sit, that doesn't help the opponent. If you're the opponent, you're telling your guys, do not let this guy get in foul trouble. You'd almost go to officials and wish you could turn down fouls. It's like when the Oklahoma Sooners, this is an old story, when Barry Switzer was the coach at Oklahoma and they were playing against Oklahoma State, which had Thurman Thomas as the starting running back and Barry Sanders as the backup. You talk about a great backfield. And players were talking about, we're going to hurt Thurman Thomas in Oklahoma. We're going to mess him up. And Barry Switzer told his players, do not hurt their starting running back because we cannot stop their backup, which was Barry Sanders. And similar thing here with foul trouble. If you're an opponent, you want him on the floor. It makes a difference for you. It hurts MSU. And there is a level of stubbornness. I don't know if it's something the entire coaching staff feels. I think they still see there are moments when Sissoko's rebounding pretty well, and he hasn't done that lately. And when he's not rebounding well, his value is just nil. And it's tough because, we've talked about this.
But it's not
Sissoko's
just you following Sissoko. I mean, you have to watch out for his flying elbows, offensive fouls, and all that.
Sissoko, I think, could still be a valuable player in spurts. Like a 12-minute-a-game guy who is giving maximum energy and is just sort of – I just think he could be, but you've got to convince him to be that. And
you do?
Which is I mean, and I'm not saying he doesn't
sit on the bench. Do it or sit on the bench.
I'm not saying he's not giving maximum effort, but when you get in there, you got to make people feel you if you're going to be worth having on the court in your Sissoko, and that largely has not happened. By the way, my story on Barry Switzer in Oklahoma is a story not worth telling, but told anyway. Again, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, and if you were there Saturday, you know why we talk so highly of Midtown. If you've never been there before. Worth your time to watch a game, for a date night, for brunch. You get a sense of the vibe. It is a great place for just about any occasion. And go to midtownbrewing.net to check out their menu or check them out on Facebook or just swing on by 402 South Washington Avenue in downtown Lansing.
Wesley Collins next. MSU will be a 5 seed. They'll play themselves to a 6, and they'll get moved up a line based off brand. Izzo tournament success, geography, and a desired matchup in the second weekend.
So the situation with MSU and seeding and sort of their brand and Izzo helping that is been kind of all over the place. There are times where I think who MSU is, who Izzo is, has helped them. It's helped them get in the tournament in 2011 when they had that team that maybe didn't deserve to be there. There have been a couple times but it's also not done them any favor. There have been years where they should have been a 1 and they wound up being a 2. It's years where I thought they should be a seed higher, and it hasn't happened. So I don't know if it actually will. I still think if they win every game but Purdue for the rest of the regular season and win a game in the Big Ten tournament, they'll be a 6. I don't think they get higher than that.
Miller next. Tyson Walker is this MSU's team's best point guard.
He's pretty good. And he was great last year down the stretch when Hogard was in foul trouble or wasn't playing as well. It's one of the reasons that MSU has a chance to make a run in an individual tournament is there not a lot of teams. And consider Jeremy Fears got shot and isn't even playing, and he was looking like a really good, promising freshman point guard who was emerging more and more, and yet still Michigan State has 3 guys who can get them into good situations offensively. Very few people have that many good quality ball handlers. And Walker, I think there's an argument in certain settings he creates the most havoc. The problem is, he's beat up, and you need him in a lot of different ways, and so that needs to be done sparingly. But there is an argument in certain ways he is. I still think A.J. Hoggard, when A.J. Hoggard is right, is their guy.
So Tyson Walker's groin, if he has a bad game against Iowa, do we blame the groin? Or because he looked good on Saturday.
He did. He played
So I just don't
well.
want to have, if he's bad against Iowa, then what?
He's not the same guy in the way he races down the court all the time and everything. He picks his spots, but it doesn't sound like they're going to rest him. It sounds like Walker has assured Izzo that this is something he can play through, that it's not, it just sometimes sort of gets tight and bothers him, but it's not like something that's going to get repaired with a week off anyway, so it doesn't make sense to do that. They seem to be resting him. He does not practice the day after games, so they give him that day to sort of recover. They've sort of found a groove with him, and it's just going to be what it is.
Andrew Gauthier up next. Based on an incredibly small sample size, Kohler and Booker is MSU's best front court pairing right now. They got their scoring run going in the first half, rebounded well, defended decently, and showed an offensive game no other pairing has yet. Malik on his own as a 4 has done great.
Yeah, I mean, I think Malik Hall has been so good. You have to say Hall with anybody is a better pairing than Kohler Booker, just because Hall is playing at a really elite level the last 3 games, especially in
Hall
has
and
for a while.
Sissoko combo.
Yeah, Hall does enough for you. I mean, Booker in spurts, like if you played Booker 12 straight minutes, I think things would go really badly. And they know not to do that. Nobody's expecting that. I do think it was interesting what happened with Booker and Kohler, and that they experimented with that. And I thought that they left them out there together for 3 full minutes was interesting and cool, because sometimes they'll put out an interesting lineup, and I think, I'd like to see how this develops. And like 30 seconds later, half that lineup gets checked out of the game, and you never get to see it. It was interesting to watch Kohler and Booker, 2 guys who I think see the game pretty well, are both offensively skilled players. And it's interesting to watch something like that have success and just think about the future of the team. Like this year, you obviously want to get as much as you can out of those guys. And like I said in my hot take, like I think it's important that some of these role players who are still growing into this year do something that's a little bit memorable. But when you think about next year, when you see flashes of a Kohler Booker front court look good, you think, well, that could be something. That could be something promising. Those guys play extended minutes together, and that could be a different deal. And those are all things that I
think it's people desperately wanting to see something work from the bigs.
And they're just tired of seeing Sissoko.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Joshy up next. The only way this team reaches its ceiling is if Matty gives all his minutes to Booker and Carr. Hell, even cut Jackson or Cooper minutes. Otherwise, we'll be happy with another second weekend exit.
It's going to come down to the matchup. They could beat Marquette again if they get that sort of deal. In terms of like being a team that can beat UConn or Purdue, like one of the reasons I'm looking forward to seeing them play Purdue is I want them to play on the road. Like there is no tougher deal in college basketball this year than Purdue on the road, right? Purdue's a top 2 team in the country. I think everybody would say right now the way they played most of the year. Them and UConn right now, Mackey's as tough as it gets. How you do in that setting shows a little bit about your ceiling. Now, Purdue is unique in the fact that Edey is so difficult and it's just different than other teams. But I really want to see that a little bit to see what their ceiling is. The question is, can you get to a point, though, where some of the lineups you're throwing out there against Michigan also see the floor against a Purdue? Like that's what – because if you're going to prove – not that you're matchup proof. I know a lot of people hate that term, so I'm not going to say it. But if you're going to – that you can hang in there with matchups that aren't favorable, you're not going to do that with Sissoko, I don't think. And so you're going to have to be willing to do some things that are a little more creative.
NPC softball dad next. Nothing like getting 17 legs of an 18-leg college baseball parlay, correct? Add Arkansas baseball next to Vermont basketball on the list of teams I hate. Sports betting is ass.
I wonder if this is autocorrect. Did he have college baseball 17 of 8?
Yeah.
Holy shit, that's impressive.
He did say add Arkansas baseball to the
Vermont basketball, Arkansas baseball.
Why are you doing 17, 18 legs?
Well, it's probably lots of heavy favorites. You know what I mean? Where you think you.
Yeah.
I would.
But can you really be mad at gambling when you lose an 18-legger, though?
You get that close, you can be mad. You would be mad.
Well, yeah. I guess.
I would be interested to know the one you lost, too. I would like to know that.
Corey Ostrom next. Izzo is quietly prepping this team for a run. Cooper, Kohler, Carr, and Booker are slowly carving their roles. Success in March only comes with a consistent Hogard. Bonus, Nebraska's Kisai Tominga, whatever his name is the most overrated player in the Big Ten, and he has a punchable face. Changed my mind.
He didn't play any defense, and he would be a guy that would be a disaster if he was on MSU's team. He's got a stupid-looking face because just a fan-base disaster. People would want him in the game because he can shoot. He cannot guard me or you. So Izzo would hate playing him, and people would want him, and it would be like Nick Ward's freshman year all over again, and people would just be angry as hell that the guy who shot threes was not in the game. If he is, I'm not going to say he has a punchable face because I don't think it's that punchable. And it makes me sound like, just Asian guy, punchable face. I don't know if that's a great look. I say enough things to fix
Was that Asian hate or something?
Yeah, see, that's what I don't know. We don't need to do. We don't need to go there.
So if he were white, you'd punch him.
I'd punch him if he was white. Yeah.
All right. Chris next. This MSU team is the bizarro version of the 2013-2014 team. The 2013 team started the year strong before hitting a rough patch to end the year. This team started slow before coming together towards the end of the year.
That team had more talent, though. I mean, the 2013-14 team is a team that should have won a title, and it was the Keith Appling wrist deal, and he was playing like a Big Ten Player of the Year candidate, and you had Gary Harris, and you had Adrian Payne, and you had now younger Denzel Valentine, who was part of the problem, I think, the fact that he was on the wing and wound up, getting so many open threes when he was like a 28% three-point shooter at the time. But that team had pros, and pros who were in prominent roles. But I do understand what you're saying, like that. Both 2013 and 2013-14 and 2015-16, the Denzel Valentine senior year, those teams were as good as they ever were in November and December. And so there, and neither one of those teams got what you wanted out of March. Now, I think, there are other circumstances that created that. I don't think their good November and December had anything to do with that. But this team is certainly the opposite, even if a different team.
Ken Chu, who we saw Saturday, is up next. Good seeing you, Ken. If MSU loses at Purdue, they will beat the Boilermakers in the Big Ten tournament. And bonus, hanging out beats connecting electronically anytime.
It was, you're right. It was good to be with people, and it was fun to be with people who like us.
The show.
Yeah, for whatever reason. It's you guys are great. I don't get it.
Yeah, you guys are the best.
The Purdue point. It will be interesting. Say they go down to Mackey, and it looks like a game at Mackey where, even if they're competitive, shit goes wrong at some point. They lose by 10, 12, whatever. And then they're playing in the Big Ten tournament. How motivated, if Purdue does win the Big Ten regular season, and they know everything is about the NCAA tournament with them, how motivated they'll be in the postseason. Often once you get to the championship game, everybody wants to give everything they have.
When you lose
there.
to a 16 seed, everything should be motivational, though. Like, seriously, don't skip over anything.
I think there's a better chance Michigan State beats Purdue in the semis, so if MSU winds up being the 4, than if MSU winds up being the 3. And right now they're in a three-way tie for third, so it's hard to know exactly where that will go. But
boy, the Big Ten is something else.
Yeah, it's a weird league. It's not as good as it's been, but it's got a couple of really great teams. It's got some teams with potential, and it's got enough teams with something to play for. That's not a bad league. It's better than the Big East, which everybody is giving tons of credit to UConn for being a part of.
David Jackson next. Michigan State is going to finish third in the Big Ten. Yes, Purdue will still win it. And because of that, we will avoid Purdue until Selection Sunday. Bonus. The Spartans have won 3 straight, including Saturday night's 73-63 win in Michigan and 8 of their last 10 games, bringing MSU into a third-place tie in the Big Ten standings with Wisconsin and Northwestern. Is that a take, or you're just telling us that? Bonus hot take. Gender reveal parties are ass. That's not hot. No shit. I'm having to sit here on Facebook. What? I'm having to sit here on Facebook Live watching the reveal party for my nephew and his wife. It's going on forever with nonsense. The mother-to-be is the only sober person there. What a monumental waste of my early evening. Finally. It's a boy, if anyone cares. Now I can finally watch the replay of last night's basketball game.
I'm with you. Like gender reveal parties are only fun if you can be there and you can get drunk. Yeah, they can be fun.
No.
How are they not fun? If you're with friends, they're fun. You just don't make. Obviously, there's that moment where you have to pay attention to what color is.
Yeah, but then what do we do after that though? So just talking about a baby. For
No,
like 2 hours.
You do other things. You do other things, right? You make the gender reveal party. There is the moment that's going to be videotaped where the balloon pops, or it's
let me
a
see
pink balloon or whatever.
Post
blue
that
balloon.
on social media. We'll all see it.
The Facebook Live reveal sucks. That is the bad. David, I commiserate.
But do you have to be on camera? I mean, you could just put it on and act like you're there.
Yeah. How many other people are there? That's where everybody needs one of those giant heads that we sometimes throw in front of the screen here. We're like, I am here in, spirit.
Oh my God,
that's awful.
Terrible idea.
Yeah.
Facebook Live. TK next. Can we take a moment to discuss how horrible some of those Michigan turnovers were? It's incredible they were able to stay in that game with that many turnovers. That was wild. What was it, 22, 23?
Yeah, and the way it looked like a mismatched high school game at times, the way they kept stealing the ball from them. And Michigan is a weird team because they actually, when you go pound for pound on their roster talent-wise, you go, that team ought to be in the middle of the Big Ten group. They're not awful. They're not great. But
what does that tell you?
Well, it's coaching. It's
Fire
discipline.
Jawan.
And it's plaguing Doug McDaniel home games and not road games. There's a lot of shit.
And
there.
this Gus Johnson, this motherfucker he actually said this. He goes, Ward Manuel's doing a fantastic job. He said that on air.
Yeah, most of their sports have taken a dip, other than football.
Are you kidding me? Alan Perlstein. This winter, MSU hockey will win the Big Ten. This spring, MSU basketball will make a 26th consecutive appearance at the NCAA tournament. Next fall, MSU football will be invited to a bowl game.
I don't even think that's that hot. I think all those things are very likely to happen. And
hopefully a bowl game.
I mean, that's 6 wins, and the over/under at 5.5. I think is a decent play on the over. MSU basketball is clearly set with the NCAA tournament experience. There's no experiment. There's no bubble. And eventually I am going to do this column. I just haven't yet because it is driving me nuts. Now the bracketologists all safely have Michigan State in, some as high as like a 7. It's like they haven't even done that. What did you think was going to happen when they played a bad Michigan team? When they play Penn State? When they host, do you think they were going to lose those games? Were you predicting them to lose? Because nothing they've done really has been that out of what was expected, and yet the bracketologists have changed their tone. I think they took a lot of shit. I don't think they knew anything. I think they screwed that up, and they made it sound like they were on the bubble when they really weren't. Now, obviously, some of that's predictive, but if you were watching the games and you knew this way the schedule lightened up, and I know the Illinois game had some impact in that, but they didn't have to beat Illinois to make the tournament. That shit was ass.
The Keith ski up next. 32 and sunny with no wind and a foot of snows. Better than all of April. So Keith is a skier, and I can see how he would enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean,
no snow.
The no wind is the key. Like as somebody who goes on a walk with my mother once a day, you give me 30 degrees with no wind, it's a pleasant walk. You give us 40 degrees with a whipping wind, it sucks. Like the wind is everything.
Nate C. Cider is better than beer. Sure.
I mean, both can work too. Like one of my favorite drinks is what you call a black velvet. It's like half Guinness, half cider, and it's an Irish. No, it's fantastic. It's so good. Yes, some people call it a what do they call it? A
vomit in a cup.
No, a black and tan. Some people, it's not.
That's what everybody calls it.
No.
It's a black and tan.
No.
I've heard of a black and tan.
Because, okay, here's why. It's an Irish drink. If you walk into a bar and ask for a black and tan and they give it to you, you should get your drink for free, one, and then you should walk out.
Oh.
Because no Irish pub should ever serve a black and tan. A black and tan is a British soldier. That's the name of a British soldier. A true Irish pub would not serve. You want to talk about getting punched in the face? If you walk in to an Irish pub, a real Irish pub, an Irish pub that deserves respect, with Irish music on the jukebox.
With blokes everywhere.
With blokes everywhere and fiddling on Sunday nights, whatever it might be. You walk in there and you ask for a black and tan and you don't get punched in the face, you never ask for a black and tan at an Irish pub.
What's the point of even drinking or trying? C-Dubs 91 next. The NBA All-Star Game is ass. I tried watching with an open mind, but I had to turn it off. Bonus. If I wanted to submit Twitter questions but didn't want to be on Twitter, what's the best way to do it? Pornhub. Reach out to us there. I don't know. Email?
Yeah, I would. Pornhub is. I have an account there. No, I'm kidding. I would say
multiple accounts.
Multiple ways to do it. Some people do email. You can email me at my LSJ account, but a lot of people do my personal account, graham.couch@gmail.com. If you do it there, I'll always get it. You can send it to us. You can comment on the show on Facebook. But email is probably the best way to do it. And just email my graham.couch@gmail.com, and I'll get that. A number of our listeners do that.
Jumping Kitten Kisses up next. Dunk contest is over. Take the bottom 14 teams, elect one player from each team in a one-on-one tournament. Winner's team receives a play-in game spot.
They're not going to do that because it's too gimmicky, but I would enjoy a one-on-one tournament more than I would a lot of what they're doing. Like a one-on-one tournament would be kind of fun because it doesn't determine who the best players are.
I guess you kind of have to play defense if you're playing one-on-one, right?
Right, and one-on-one, like we've talked about this with Sissoko. Sissoko has more value than me as a Division I basketball player, but he's not going to beat me one-on-one. So, that doesn't really tell the story, right? It's not really
Up to what?
Up to anything.
Up to 10?
Yeah.
You would beat Madi Sissoko.
It would be interesting.
In a one-on-one. Oh, my God. Izzo, if you're listening, please, God, let him play Madi Sissoko.
I know, it would go horribly. But because he would just get close to the basket and dunk over me. But I would, if you could keep him outside the paint, you would have a chance to hang in there.
There you go, Big Ten Plus. I'd actually pay for your stupid-ass service again if you put that on TV. Donate it to charity. G.E. Miller next. Malik is this team's most important player. If he's on, we have a post threat, and it takes the pressure off guards and makes us multidimensional. If he's not, we are relying on both Walker and Akins hitting from distance to win. Bonus. Michigan basketball is 5th best in talent in the Big Ten, but last in coaching. I've never seen a worse transition defense from any Big Ten team in decades.
Yeah, it is amazing how uninspired they are when the game starts to get away from them, and it just that's where the coaching and the lack of accountability. And this goes back to Jet Howard, because if you're a coach who's able to hold your roster accountable, guys who don't get back don't play. Can you imagine a team that played that sort of defense in transition for Izzo? Like, the guys who were the culprits just wouldn't be on the floor. And that's why you do that stuff. And sometimes it costs you a game early. But when Coen Carr has been taken out of a lot of games this year for defensive mistakes. And sometimes you got to let guys play through to a certain degree. But I also imagine when it's something maybe you've harped on in practice, you've gone over time and time again, when you do it, you have to hold a player accountable because the other players see that. And a lot of times Carr understands it. And so that stuff matters because you stop making those mistakes and you get better as your career goes on. You realize that's an important detail in playing someplace. I think Michigan's lost track of a lot of details because just from a talent standpoint, they're a lot better than what you see in key moments of the game.
Munn Field Keg up next. Driving from Marquette for a live taping of this show is insane. But seriously, sitting up there and having previous takes read out loud in public took some stones. I'll definitely try and make the next one.
We hope you will. Yeah, appreciate it. There was, some of the distances were great. Now, those people who drove those distances did have, children who went to Michigan State. They didn't just come here to only see us.
Yeah, but don't say that.
No, I'm sorry. They came, yeah. They had to see their kids.
Good Lord.
At that point, they were in town anyway.
That's pressure for us.
It was a lot of fun. It doesn't take stones.
We love making fun of each other, ourselves.
It's really all we have.
Yeah. It's fun. Mr. Benjen next. Gus Johnson broke every journalistic code while sucking their football coach's member for half of the second half. Gus got a bag of piss-colored swag and gleefully opened it. He was talking like John U. Bacon unfiltered. I will never listen to one word that piece of shit says ever again. Mute. Bonus. Socks suck. They take them off and they ball up so they don't get washed right. They get lost in the dryer. Those that don't come out half wet, they suck to turn in right side out and then fold. And you still get mismatched pairs. Fuck socks.
Socks aren't fun. There's no doubt about that.
I will say twice a year, if you clear out your socks, if you're donating to Goodwill, I clear my socks out, give it to Goodwill as we're giving away other stuff to Goodwill, and I buy another bag of socks for $10.99. I do it twice a year.
Really?
Yeah. I hate socks. I'm like Benjen. I hate socks. They're annoying, especially with the socks that barely go above the ankle. You can't find those things. They're curled up in a little ball.
Yeah, I try to, yeah.
So I just clear it out because then you don't have the other one and you're sitting there. I don't know.
I respect that. I'm not a fan of socks. I don't have the same vitriol toward them. I do wish,
I enjoy a good pair of socks.
Yeah. No, I feel like Muskox could venture into the socks realm. They do also, though, they do make hats, both caps and, caps, like winter caps and ball caps and T-shirts
for people with
as
big
well.
heads?
For people with big heads. Yeah, absolutely. So
Damn.
if you'd like something that's not a flannel and you have lots of flannels, or you want some summer Muskox gear, you can go to gomuskox.com. Sorry, and you'll see their offerings for hats and tees there as well. So lots of offerings at gomuskox.com.
I might have to get a hat.
Yeah, no,
it fits my big ass head.
I have a hat, and it does fit my head, and I wear it on my walks with my mother.
Well, if it fits on your head, I'm good. Some dude next. My new favorite thing is to hear Jason criticize Doug McDaniel's parents. I wonder what Coach K would say to them. And bonus, the big man rotation in the Michigan game is exactly what we need to see from here on out. That level of production is all we need. Kohler has arrived. His nose for the ball, hustle, and make up for his lack of certain athletic ability.
First of all, what do you think? How would Coach K sound if he was talking to Doug McDaniel's parents?
No. I can't do it.
So good.
No. You can't spell your name D-U-G. That's stupid.
Oh, man. It's not at my tongue.
Tremendous.
Sorry.
The big man rotation, look, you certainly have to play Kohler and Booker together at some point. You have to see what that looks like. And Kohler, you have to, as guys earn minutes, you got to give them minutes. And I think the beauty of that is because of Sissoko's play, there are minutes to be had, right? And I'm not saying you don't play Sissoko at all. I'm just saying there are at least 10 minutes out of that center position. If you're talking about Carson Cooper, 20 minutes a game to be given to somebody else. And I do think, now that you've got Coen Carr playing at the 3 and doing okay with it, which I think is important. And Tom Izzo talked about that Monday, too, about the offseason that Coen Carr needs to have and what they're going to work on and his shot. And they know there's a big offseason ahead for him. And because he is a wing, he is a 3. He is not a power forward. They've used him at power forward because they've needed to. And for a while, that's where he was most comfortable and best. But he's only 6'5". He is not a power forward. And that's not going to work against certain matchups all the time. And so that, again, gives you opportunities for Booker, for Kohler, and we've seen two bigs does not work when one of them is Mady Sissoko. Two bigs can work when it's Booker and Kohler, when it's Cooper and Kohler, when it's, when you have two skilled players or at least more skilled and the other one is, it can work a little bit in stretches. And so there are lots of, it'll be interesting. Iowa has a young big guy who's, pretty good player, has shown some promise, and how, I'll be curious to see them match up with him and who they use and where.
Fart Soup up next. Graham secretly hates and has actively been rooting against MSU's success in multiple sports for years. Gone are the days of 3 quick takes on whichever dumpster team MSU basketball loses to. Hello, MSU hockey and Robin Fralick stories. Looks like the donut time has to wait.
Well,
when do you wait to take a donut?
I have not been rooting against.
You should have saw his eyes when Andrew and Monica from Groovy Donuts showed up Saturday with donuts, and
it was incredible.
I'll take a box.
Yeah, I did have one. I couldn't even wait to get in the car. I ate it there. I mean, it was like,
this one's for Elizabeth.
Yeah, I couldn't have a box next to me on the way back. On the way down, if I had a box of donuts, of Groovy Donuts, next to me on the way down to
blood sugar would be 500.
Yeah, and I would have crumbs all over me. I like to wear my advertisements for our sponsors, but not that way. Yeah, well, hey, yeah, sure.
Greeny Green next. If Jeremy Fears had not gotten injured, MSU basketball would be ranked in the top 20 with a chance at a number 4 NCAA tournament seed. That's hot.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely playing a lot better. He had gone from a guy who I thought was their third best point guard, maybe fourth best at times, playing as the backup point guard, and that was part of their issues. He wasn't better than Tyson Walker or Trey Holloman would have been in that role. To a guy who right before he got shot was playing, I thought, at a pretty high level and was boosting Michigan State. And I thought that the best part for Michigan State was that A.J. Hoggard no longer seemed affected by Fears' presence, that Hogard understood his own role was a little safe. He was playing better. The whole thing was looking really good. And so I don't know where that would have gone. It would have been a different season. Holloman has made more minutes for Holloman has not been a bad deal for Michigan State. But Fears may have a higher ceiling in certain ways and maybe would have gotten there. So it would have been interesting to see.
MZA up next. MSU will win out and get a number 4 seed. Izzo is prepping this team for a run. With the reduction of Sissoko's minutes, Cooper, Booker, and Carr continuing to improve, and the Purdue game looking more and more winnable. Second weekend at minimum. Bonus. Bagels are better than donuts at their peak.
We disagree, but I do like a good bagel.
What exit, bro? Where are we meeting? Bagels versus donut people.
I mean,
come on.
The big thing about donuts is just there are fewer calories and they taste better. But a good bagel is a good bagel, and I'm not going to. Do I say bagel weird?
You sure do. I wasn't going to say anything. You say Vegas weird too. Vegas.
I say Vegas.
Vegas.
I don't say Vegas.
Boggle.
I say bagel.
Boggle.
Bagel. Is that how you say it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds right. Jarrett, next. Purdue will lose 2 of their last 3 games of the regular season.
Give me some Hoff. I got to see Purdue's schedule.
Hoff.
I am the passenger, and I ride and I ride.
Man, that's good. I like it.
I ride through the city's backside. I see the stars come.
So the final 3 games for Purdue are brutal. They are Michigan State at Purdue, Purdue at Illinois, Wisconsin at Purdue. Now 2 of the 3 are home, and they ought to win those. Purdue at Illinois, and that game. What was really interesting about losing that game to Ohio State, and Illinois' end of season schedule is better, is that Illinois has a legitimate shot at least a share of the Big Ten title if they beat Purdue at home. And obviously, if Purdue messes up somewhere else, that gets more and more likely Illinois could still win it outright. So the Big Ten itself is very much still in question. The good news for Purdue is they're going to have to play well down the stretch, and they're going to be sort of the iron sharpens iron deal. Like even at home, Wisconsin has some that's a formidable team. Michigan State's a formidable team, and Illinois obviously on the road is a really difficult matchup. Like they're going to have to play well, and if they win the Big Ten title, they will have earned it.
Mojo Jojo, if this were a home game for MSU, I'd put the odds of upsetting Purdue and making a late improbable run at the Big Ten regular season title at greater than 70%.
So Purdue is at home. Yeah, I mean, the problem is it's 6 losses where Michigan State is. There's just no way they're going to get there. And with Illinois, too, they're not going to catch Illinois, I don't think. And that's the problem. Illinois it's not just catching Purdue; it's how many games you are back, and it's also that Illinois is in front of you as well.
Dave Lakin up next. Izzo is still in denial with his young, developing players. That's the only explanation I have of why Coen Carr didn't get time in the second half. If Izzo wants to go anywhere this postseason and get the production out of his bigs, he should pair Cooper and Carr and Kohler and Booker.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget Malik Hall here, who's been their best player in a lot of ways for a little while now.
Who forgot about Malik?
But if you're talking about pairing, and when you do have pairs of bigs, certainly Cooper and the problem with Cooper and Carr, and Carr is not a big. Like they're going to play Carr, at the wing when Akins is out and whatnot. And that's part of the challenge is Akins gives them certain things that Izzo trusts defensively, and also the shooting. And so you have to find, I think, ways to get Carr in there when Akins is in there and not just have that be an either or, because Akins and these guys are increasingly playing 32, 35 minutes a game. They're main guys, and the minutes really come out of the center position. And so and how those get divvied up. And so you have to find ways to play small ball, whatever it is. But you also, Coen Carr is a guy that, one thing I've discovered about him this year is I don't know if he does real well going back and forth between the 3 and 4. He struggled with it for a while. And so you have to give him digestible game plans. And if you do that, I think he can really help you.
Kevin from Rochester Hills next. Detroit Mercy is a better team than Michigan. And bonus, Tiger's career is officially over. Why is it? Because he pulled out of the Genesis tournament?
Like he won't. I think he'll still keep.
He's got
playing
the
Masters.
flu, right? Like he says, I don't know.
He'll keep playing Masters. Now his competitive career may be done.
But he just said that he had some sort of illness. He didn't tear his back up or anything. I mean, he's still a guy that can play.
I still want to see him in the majors, right?
But I don't see how his career's over for that. Was it a career-ending injury that he had over the weekend? Don't rip on Tiger, man.
Yeah, look, we all want. I don't know if he'll ever. I keep hoping he'll get one more tournament where he shows up for 4 days and his body lets him do it and he's great. And it doesn't seem like
if he could use a cart.
Yeah.
Bo McJunkin's next. It will once again be frustrating that while this MSU team is playing well, we didn't take care of business in the first half of the year, and we'll be on a 6+ line once again in the NCAA tournament instead of a top 3 seed. Can't wait to play a 1 or 2 seed early again. And bonus, if Tyson Walker had an academic issue and had a suspension like McDaniel, Izzo would be criticized until the end of time. The crickets around McDaniel's suspension is amazing.
They're not crickets, Bo, and this is where I'm going to tell you. I think there are some green glasses you're speaking with here.
Oh.
I'll just say this because people want Juwan Howard fired. The Michigan fan base is tired of it. Like there's not, Juwan Howard is getting criticized left and right. Now about those specific handling of that, I don't know how much was him and versus the athletic department. In terms of what was the decision on how they were going to handle it, but he's getting ripped for this. People don't want him back. I mean, Izzo would absolutely get ripped, and there is people who love to pile on Izzo. There's no question about it, and I'm not going to say that doesn't exist. But Howard is getting his share of it again.
And so was McDaniel. I was hearing people goofing on him for, like, all you have to do is get like a D or something.
Well, you got this MSU student section that was at Chrysler Center chanting "Do your homework" when he was at the free throw line, and he missed 2 free throws.
How about the crowd? State fans go green, go white chant. It reminded me of the Lions kind of.
It was loud, yeah.
Taking it over.
There's no doubt.
All right, Clint One Ball Bainey next. Number 1, as much as they try, Chrysler Arena will never be the Breslin Center. 2, Juwan Howard looked as lost as Bobby Williams at the 2002 press conference after losing to Michigan. 1 ball bonus. Coen Carr needs 7 more minutes a game, and bonus. Had a great time on Saturday at Midtown Brewery.
It's great to see you, 1 ball.
That was fun.
Yeah, I met your wife before. His daughter was there. It was good. It was good. It was a good time, and I love that his wife leans into the 1 ball nickname.
Well, you kind of have to.
Yeah,
right. You're married to it.
Yeah, but apparently he doesn't have just 1 ball.
Don't ruin it.
Sorry. Yeah,
Fuck,
1 ball.
Man.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. We'll fix that in post.
Jesus.
Yeah. The Juwan Howard thing with Bobby Williams and all that. It wasn't. Every game has ended like this, and I think he's out of ideas. But I think it goes back to a program that he hasn't held accountable, and it began with his own son, and he's got no one to blame but that, and that's when the program started to turn. And I don't know if he can get it back at this point. If the bare minimum in the offseason, if you're considering bringing him back, and he did have some success early on, a lot of them were Beeline's guys, but some were his.
I think it turned when he slapped another coach.
Well, that doesn't help.
On the court. In front of cameras.
I would really want to know the plan, though. Like, what is the plan not for it to look like this? Because it can't look like this again, and there has to be a real plan for it. The program, not just to win more. It's not just about that. It's about it to look disciplined, to maximize your talent. It's got to look different.
Neurotic Pants. Next, Michigan State football will be mid-level in the new Big Ten, but at the same time, we will be overall formidable team, better than most of the ACC, some of the SEC, and most of the Big 12. Exact preseason blow victories, followed by inconsistent and frustrating conference play, followed by bowl game victory blowouts. I know these things. You don't.
Yeah, look, Michigan State football is mid-level in the new Big Ten, but I think Michigan State has a chance to be upper-tier Big Ten as a program. I don't know what the ceiling is, and we'll find that out. And UCLA, though, is not going to be ahead of Michigan State as a program, I would doubt. Washington, we'll see what level of consistency they bring. Oregon is going to be tough. Oregon and USC are 2 programs that you add. But when you talk about 18 teams, and I think 2 of the teams you bring in aren't necessarily ahead of Michigan State, I think Michigan State has a chance, if it made the right hire with Jonathan Smith, to be above the mid-level, whether it is year in and year out against with the top teams. I mean, we'll see what the NIL situation is, what that, even in college football, whether that's what drives recruiting in the next 5 years and ultimately what Jonathan Smith's ceiling is as a coach.
JD next. The percent Fox would put Jonathan Smith on the broadcast for a Gus Johnson glazing during a close Michigan MSU game at the Breslin is 0.147%. But go ahead, Graham. Tell me more about how there's no blue wall bonus. If this MSU team only loses one more regular season game and is playing on Selection Sunday, pencil them in to the Final Four.
Well, I really think they're going to lose only to Purdue the rest of the way. That's my hunch. And again, if they're playing on Selection Sunday, that does mean they're in the Big Ten final. They're rolling a little bit. And so I still think a lot of what happens to this MSU team will be matchup dependent. I think there are teams in the top 10 that I would pick Michigan State to beat more often than not. There are also teams probably in the top 20 that I would say, boy, that's not a great matchup for. And so it's going to matter who and where they get sent but basically who they're playing against, and can they get to a point where they're able to at least adequately counter. Like, they understand their weaknesses, the bigs. They understand that they should have probably gotten a 5 at this point. Even their 5s understand it. Carson Cooper is a very self-aware dude. He knows he needs to get better offensively. He knows he's not the strength of MSU's team. But can he hang in there? Can this group hang in there well enough against tough matchups and their other guys be advantages to them? And that's the key. You need Jaden Akins to shoot well and to be on a run. What happened against Michigan to him, if that sort of shooting performance happens in the wrong game, they're in real trouble.
Yeah, thanks, Jaden. Jaden Akins props. Screwed me. Kurt Wisniewski next. Gus Johnson should never be allowed to call MSU games again. His "who's got it better than us" at the end of the broadcast was a middle finger to MSU fans. And bonus, Jaxon Kohler and Cooper should see 38 of 40 minutes. The other center should take up knitting.
Yeah, I do think Kohler needs to play a little more, but he's got to keep rebounding, and those guys also have to show consistency because they haven't to some degree. But yeah, you know how I feel. I don't think it's 38 of the 40 minutes, but I think it's 28 of the 40 minutes between the two of them, for sure. Who is better than us is bad. He
the
said
whole
that
thing was brutal.
Yeah, that's not.
It was bizarre, man.
Yeah, it's not great. They should, and nobody at Fox ever seems to correct it because he's had games. It was one of the Big Ten championships, wasn't it, in football, where he didn't want. It sounded like he didn't want to be there. It was like MSU Iowa
Connor
or something.
Cook touchdown.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's like, all right.
Unless it's a medical thing, then he guy shouldn't be doing MSU games.
Peasy next. Haller should write Fox in the Big Ten. No more Gus Johnson calling MSU games. That was embarrassing to listen to. If people really enjoy that, let them have it for other games, but I don't want to hear him on the call when MSU is playing. And bonus, Javi Baez hits 250 this year.
Is that where we are, where Javi hitting 250 is like a major win?
You know what?
Yeah, I guess it is.
In my hot takes where I kind of just throw things in there I'm thinking over the weekend, I actually had Javi Baez has a good year this year. But I remember how much pure options I had digested, so it was a high take.
They need Javi Baez to have a good year. They do. I mean, it helps. I mean, he's going to be on the roster. He's going to be their shortstop, and they also need him. You know what Javi Baez used to have at his peak? Not only was he a plus center or a plus shortstop defensively, but he kind of had a flair for the moment, right? It was like big hits, big times, power. And they need that guy back. Even if he hits 250, great. If he hits 250, but he has a number of RBIs and he seems to have big moments and you can count on him here and there, and he's not batting fourth and he's like batting sixth, then I think Javi Baez is fine.
Professor next. Saturday night might have been the worst Gus Johnson broadcast I've ever heard. His 5-minute interview with Sharon Moore. Was it only 5 minutes? His 5-minute interview with Sharon Moore, and then closing the broadcast with "Who's got it better than us?" I know he's a Michigan homer, but it was horrible. And bonus, Coen Carr needs more minutes.
I can't believe they're not hearing about this Gus Johnson situation. And at least I would hope somebody there has the stones to have an uncomfortable conversation with him and bring it up. And you don't get to be God.
They don't care. I mean, this isn't new. I mean, he went to another level, but he's always been that way. He's been that guy.
Yeah, problematic.
Steve, Gus Johnson is such a blue wall homer that he's scheduling a 20-minute Connor Stallions interview during MSU's next Fox televised game.
That would actually be funny though if he did. That one I would actually I would enjoy. I would enjoy that.
Shep, Gus Johnson is now the worst major network announcer of all time, and it's not close. He literally turned his back from the game he was covering for 15 minutes to lustfully gaze into Sharon Moore's eyes. See? That was bizarre. He was a homer for Michigan, then a teenage pay-per-view rube with his dad not checking the cable bill.
That's well played, Jeff.
24-hour block of porn, man, when you're 15. I know these kids have phones now, but
We've all been there at that age where you're just horny enough to say, I'll figure out the billing situation later. That's what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, there's a problem on the back end. There's a hotel bill. There's a cable bill. Whatever it is going to be something you're going to have to come up with a lie. But in that moment, you're like, I can't help myself.
15-year-old rube weighed his options. 24-hour block of porn, your dad's going to get mad at you. My dad he never grounded me, so I was like,
You chose the block of porn.
I sure did.
Yeah.
I would do it again. Shep, Gus Johnson. No, did we read that one?
Nope. Oh, yeah, we did Shep. Yep.
All right. Hans Jurgen, number one, if Kohler actually a good defensive rebounder, what the fuck is this? Is Kohler actually a good offensive rebounder, or has Go Blow just given up? 2, I creepily listened to the live Midtown Brewery live show from the parking lot.
Which one surprised me?
And 3, just end the All-Star games in all sports. No one cares. And bonus, ban golf and give the land to the people. Rise up.
Sounds like you got some pure options in there, Hans. I think Jaxon Kohler is got a knack for some things, and that he's got to have, because he's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he seemed intent on getting rebounds. He was really good in certain settings, and the thing is, he's not like. Part of Mady Sissoko's problem is he's not that long. He's not that as big as you think. He gets his hands on rebounds and can't hang on them. Kohler has better hands. He's not any shorter than Sissoko. He positions himself well. I think Kohler can be a good rebounder. Rebound is mostly about ass and intent, and Kohler can win the day with those two things.
Got an ass. All right. Jake Hawkins next. Great win to sweep Michigan Saturday night. Was happy to be among the many MSU fans at Chrysler Center, which is a decent arena to watch a game, but I got to ask and wonder, why is all the upper deck so dim and dark? And bonus, the live show at Midtown Brewing was a lot of fun. Great to do one of those for the first time in a while. We should definitely do that at least once a year at a sponsor's location. I had the best buffalo chicken flavored sandwich I've had in a long time on Saturday.
There you go. A recommendation of the buffalo chicken sandwich.
They had good
Jake.
food.
Yeah.
Really good food.
They have, yeah. They always do. And it's just it's a place you can count on for different types of dishes. Like if you're going on a date and you like something very different than a wife, or you need to eat lighter because you're hoping things progress well in the date, they have great options at Midtown Brewing Company. Midtown Brewing Company is a great place if you're hoping to get lucky later.
2 shots of Bill Cosby, please.
We'll fix that in post.
What, too soon?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't going to too soon. I don't know that we ever get
my bad.
Bill Cosby jokes, especially with a sponsor read. How? Wait, we'll fix that in post.
Now you're making a big deal out of it. It's kind of weird now.
It is worse.
All right, upper deck jerk guy, finally. Get out of here. Number 1, if Malik Hall was full on all the time, he would be one of the best in the country. 2, this MSU team can win in West Lafayette. And 3, that mid-game interview with the new University of Michigan football coach is the final straw, and Gus Johnson should retire.
I'll be curious. I have not seen MSU have a lot of success in West Lafayette since Brandon Dawson left campus. So that'll be interesting to see. With Hall, look, he is playing at a level now, and I'm not saying that shooting percentage is going to quite stay there, but he's taking smart shots. He's confident. If he plays close to this level, it will change his legacy. I mean, it changed Travis Trice. How you think of Travis Trice, very different than you did before that closing stretch. And if he can be that guy, I feel good for him, because I always liked Hall, the adult in the room, so to speak. We appreciate all of you. We appreciated you Saturday at Midtown Brewing Company. Those of you who were there, those of you who wanted to be there, any of you who listened to the show, we just appreciate you. Thanks for producing our show, as always, with your hot takes. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. Thanks, of course, to our friends at Muskox. Go to gomuskox.com or gomuskox.com/spring if you want to get right to their spring collection. You can use the promo code HOFF for $15 off your flannel. We'll be back probably Wednesday, maybe Thursday. We'll figure that out. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.